Good morning, students. From your first flight textbook, we are doing chapter number 5, The 100 Dresses, part 1. Easter was an American children's author and a children's librarian. Her book Ginger Paya was which she also created illustrations for, won the Newbery Medal. 3 of her books were Newbery Honor winners and one was awarded the Louis Carroll Shelf Award. Esther's books were based on her life in small town Connecticut in the early 19s. The story The 100 Dresses is based on her real life experience as the girl who received Peggy's hand-me-down dresses. She felt very guilty for not having defended the character Wanda in real life. She wrote the story in order to assess her guilt and to encourage others to stand against bullies. The story is about a quiet and shy girl named Wanda Petronsky, a Polish immigrant who had come to America with her family. She attended the school with the American children and they made fun of her because of her name, the strange name, and the weirdest in the classroom. And the other names were much easier to pronounce. The story opens up with Wanda being absent in the class. Let's read. Today, Monday, Wanda Petronsky was not in her seat. But nobody, not even Peggy and Mandolin, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. So, today is Monday. And Wanda Petronsky is absent. She's not there in her seat. And the girls, that is Peggy and Madeline, who used to make fun of her because she was Polish, fun of her because she had a weird name, fun of her because she was a poor girl. So they used to make fun of her and noticed her absent. Did not notice her absence. Usually Wanda sat in the seat next to the last seat in the last row in room 13. So the classroom is room 13 and she used to sit in the last seat. The last row and the last seat. She sat in the corner of the room with the rough boys who did not make good marks at. The corner of the room where there was most scuffling of feet, most roars of laughter when anything funny was said, and most mud and dirt on the floor. So students, as I read, you might be imaginary, there might be a visual imagery in front of you. You might be wondering of your classroom, how your classroom came alive with all the noise coming from the back benches. So you have to picturize the same. That she sat in the corner of the room with the rough boys who did not make good marks. So she used to sit in the corner of the room and that was the place meant for the boys. And these were those boys who were not interested in learning, who were not interested in studies, who did not score good marks when it comes to exam test. The corner of the room where there was more scuffling of feet, that is dragging of feet, so noise of the feet, most roars of laughter, and when anything happened the loud noise came from the back benches. So most of the noise of laughter came from that corner when anything funny was said, and most mud and dirt on the floor. And moreover, that part of the class, the last corner of the class where Wanda used to sit, that was all dirty because of the dirt. Wanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. Now Wanda is sitting over there not because she is rough in the sense that she was loud and noisy. She created noise in class. No, that was not the reason. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all. But then she was a very quiet girl. She hardly spoke in class. And nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud, and nobody had ever heard her laugh to the extent that it creates a loud noise. No, never. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of smile, but that was all. And she used to smile certain times that gave a crooked look to her mouth, but then that is the only the students or the classmate had noticed. Nobody knew exactly why Wanda sat in that seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Bogging Heights and her feet were usually caked with dirt, dry mud. Now, exactly why she used to sit over there, nobody knew that. But then the thing that was understood that because she was coming from Bogging Height, her feet, her shoes were altogether covered with dry mud. But no one really thought much about Wanda Petronsky once she sat in the corner of the room. Now, she was not the favorite child or not the favorite classmate or a friend, so nobody used to bother about her. She was just a subject of fun making for the rest of the classmates, and nobody noticed that she was there. The time when they thought about Wanda was outside of school hours at noontime when they were coming back to school, or in the morning early before school began, when groups of two or three or even more would be talking and laughing on their way to the schoolyard. So, when did they realize, or when is the time when they thought of Wanda? It is when they wanted to have some fun with Wanda, and usually it was the noon time when the school was over and everyone was to return back to their homes, or in the early morning when the school started. So two or three group of girls would stand, or maybe more than that would stand, and they would talk and laugh, and they were on their way to the schoolyard. At that time they noticed Wanda. Then sometimes they waited for Wanda to have fun with her. So when they're returning back to school or in the early morning, certain time they used to wait for Wanda so that they can have fun with her. Fun in the sense they can tease her. The next day, Tuesday, Wanda was not in school either, and nobody noticed her absence again. So, Monday, Wanda was absent. Tuesday, again, Wanda was absent. Nobody noticed that Wanda is absent for last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. Both days she was absent. So, when did the classmate actually realize that Wanda is not coming to school? But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat down front with other children who got good marks and who didn't track in a whole lot of mud, did notice that Wanda wasn't there. So it was on Wednesday when Peggy and Maddie, who are sitting in the front rows, who are sitting with the other children, who are sitting with the children who are good with studies, who score good marks in their academics, and they were the students who were coming from, let's say, a good society because their shoes were not caked with mud, and they noticed that Wanda did not come. She's absent. Peggy was the most popular girl in class. She was pretty, she had many pretty clothes, and her hair was curly. So, the favorite of the class students or the classmates was Peggy because she was pretty, she was good looking, she was beautiful, and she used to wear beautiful clothes, pretty clothes, and the hairs were curly, and she was good with studies also. Maddie was her closest friend, and Maddie was closest friend of Peggy. The reason Peggy and Maddie noticed Wanda's absence was because Wanda had made them late to school. Now, how did they realize that Wanda is absent? Because they were waiting for her so that they can have fun with her, so that they can tease her of the clothes she wears, or from where she comes, or of the name she carries, the weird name, the pronunciation being different. So they were waiting for her that she would come, and because she did not turn up, they came late to school. They were late for school, and that is the time they realized that Wanda is absent. They had waited and waited for Wanda to have some fun with her, and she just hadn't come. They often waited for Wanda Petronsky to have fun with her. So, Peggy and Maddie realized that Wanda was absent only when they were waiting for her in the early morning, and they were waiting for her so that they can have fun with her. But then she did not turn up, and because she did not turn up, they were late to school. And this is when they realized that Wanda Petronsky was absent. and they waited for her because they wanted to have fun with her. And I've already told you that fun was because of the name, the fun was because of the way she used to carry herself with dirt on on her footwears, and she used to sit in the last corner. She was quiet, so they used to tease her. So that is the fun they wanted to enjoy, but then Wanda was absent.